Sorry for this late video and stuff for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic and stuff. If you remember the very first Team USA uh, uh, World Baseball Classic and put me in coach type of situation and stuff in the beginning. That was the only ones that I did when they were in their own pool and stuff. I just never had a time to do the other video where the other videos kind of more show into like the quarterfinals, the semifinals, the finals, all those typical games, what the Team USA did and stuff. And I just never had a chance enough to edit and just um, post it on YouTube and stuff. So let me get a little bit take time and stuff. But I understand it now. I realize enough of I want to do this around this time and stuff because fortunately enough you just noticed enough of 4th of July it just happened, so just represented enough of Team USA and red, white, and blue, all stripes and stars and stuff. So I just wanted to do at that time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of the second part of the Team USA World Baseball Classic and stuff. And I put a lot of hard work into at the time and stuff. And I'll work hard to doing the editing and get it done and stuff. But so this is enough of it's an old video. Just letting you know on that. It's a very, very old video. So it's back at the time where I did the first one and I did I like recorded it on the same day than the first one, and the second one is just the same day. It's just I just haven't edited the video and stuff. And fortunately enough, at this time, I'm about to do that and stuff. And this video is just showing you enough of just like, hey, like just heads up, It's all of that. So just enjoy the episode. I mean the video. I meant to say, I'm doing the podcast with all those typical things and stuff. So it's almost similar like at that. So it's like me like practice in the beginning to the time I start the podcast and stuff. So all of that. So have fun with it.
That's the 97 home boy for the ages. My goodness. Yes! It's the day. Wow. That was awesome.
Hello and welcome to another baseball video, and today we are still going to talk about Team USA, and I'm going to kind of break down of the stats and the way Team USA played in their games and stuff. And then this time we are going to talk about the other games they played. They played three other games, three other games in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals for the World Baseball Classic. So, other than do, put me in coach because I will be in Mark DeRosa's shoes at this time and stuff. This is what I'm going to do. I'm the manager now. Don't forget. And stuff. Starting off with quarterfinals against Canada. This is actually the first time Canada actually made the quarterfinals, so good job for them. And they look a lot better. Again, more MLB experience, more MLB players on this team and stuff, and they look good. They beat Puerto Rico. Crazy to think about that. And stuff. You don't see that coming, So that's that. Obviously, the lineup is kind of, again, the same thing. The only person is not playing in center field is Brian Buxton, and PCA is going to play for him and center field and stuff. Logan Webb is throwing his second game and stuff. His first game was again Brazil, and he did a great job and stuff. This time he went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 5 strikeouts against the batters. He only walked 1 batter and gave up 1 run. 0 runs, I meant to say, and stuff. And then the others pitch was Brad Keller, Gabe Spire, whatever you call it. and stuff. David Bender, Garrett Whitlock, and Mason Miller at the end and stuff. So yeah, and we're gonna talk about the scoring and big plays. So Alex Bregman hit a two RBI single to make it 3-0 in the top of the third. Bryce Terang and Pete Armstrong hit a one RBI single to make it 5-0 top of the sixth. Tyler Black hit a one RBI single to make it 1-5 bottom of the sixth to give some runs for Canada. Bo Naylor, Josh Naylor's younger brother, hit a 2-home run to make it 3-5 bottom of the sixth. And that is the final score. Team USA beat over Canada 5-3 and stuff. And that's pretty much of that and stuff. So yeah, so that's pretty much of that. Again, I'm not truly worried of this lineup and stuff. You gotta give credits a little bit for Canada. They have good players, and they almost had a good chance to come back as well. Same thing like Team Mexico against USA. So it's kind of like the same score to win at 5-3 and stuff, to make it a lot closer and stuff. So I'm not really big too worried about it and stuff. This should be like Logan Webb to pitch in this game in some ways and stuff, but it's what it is. And then obviously enough, this is going to be the biggest game we ever have. The biggest two teams to face each other in the semifinals. USA versus Dominican Republic. And oh my goodness, this was a great game, by the way. And my heart was beaten the whole game, literally the whole game, and stuff. And I was like really, really excited and stuff. Again, same lineup. The only difference enough of Gunnar Henderson is playing third base, Will Smith playing catcher and stuff, and then PCA as center field. And Byron Buxton and kind of came up just to play left field a little bit, to giving Roman Anthony out of the game and stuff. And then Paul Skeens pitch his second game. His first game he was against Team Mexico, and he did pretty good. He went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, struck out 2 batters, walked nobody, and gave up 1 run. And the other pitchers came in is Tyler Rogers, another thing I will talk about later. Griffin Jackson, there's another player I want to talk about as well, but more positive in a way. David Bender, Garrett Whitlock, and Mason Miller at the end, and we'll talk about the scores and all stuff. So, fortunately enough, starting off with Junior Camarero hitting a solo home run to make it 1-0. And bottom of the second, hitting a home run off Paul Skeens. Pretty crazy. And especially on an 0-2 count and stuff. So, that was probably made DR going crazy and stuff. Aaron Judge throwing out Fernando Tatis Jr. at third base, trying to get out the inning at the bottom of the third. Again, cannot run on the Judge and stuff. So pretty crazy of that. You gotta understand enough of how good this team is and stuff. Gunnar Henderson hit a solo home run to tie the game up top of the fourth, and then Roman Anthony also hit a solo home run to take the lead 2-1, and also in top of the fourth and stuff. And that's basically the most of the game and stuff. And then Mason Miller struck out Geraldo Perdomo at the ball, and fortunately enough, striking out Geraldo Perdomo out on a strikeout, but fortunately the call was supposed to be a ball, but fortunately it was a strike to end the game. And that's how USA beat Dominican Republic 2-1. Very close game, exciting game, by the way, and stuff. It's hard to see it with DR the way they went down and stuff, but fortunately enough, I love this game. This is probably my favorite game out of the others and stuff because again, we got our good pitcher on the mound to start it with that's Paul Skeens, and obviously he didn't do a lot great what he did before against Mexico and stuff, but he still got them to literally gave 1 run and stuff, and so that's pretty good and stuff. Again, you gotta give a little bit credits to DR as well. They only gave up 2 runs and stuff, and that was basically it for the scoring and stuff. I love this lineup. I love everything what basically has and stuff. Obviously we'd like to see Kyle Rowling to play catching and stuff, but I don't know, his batting just not looking good, so that's why we had Will Smith and stuff. I don't know why, but I enjoy this infield so much, seeing Gunnar Henderson, Bywood Jr., Bryce Terang, and Bryce Harper in the infield. Like, these guys are the OP, like the people. Like, I really get excited and stuff every single time these players come at the plate and stuff, like these infielders and stuff. I'm excited because I know they're gonna do good and stuff. So that's the most biggest thing enough. I know Bryce Terang went 0-4 and stuff. Gunnar Henderson went 0-4. Bryce Harper went 0-4, and Bobby Wood Jr. So basically, they all went 0-4 or 1-4. It's pretty crazy and stuff. But on defense, that doesn't matter and stuff. Like, it's just crazy of how good these players are on defense and stuff, and they showed a big difference and stuff. DR had a lot of chance to literally take some runs away from Team USA and stuff, and especially against Paul Skeens and stuff. So that really made a big difference on the offense of DR and not getting a lot of scoring and stuff because of how good USA defense was and stuff. And again, there was a lot of chance DR was on base and stuff and cannot score and stuff. There was a lot and stuff. Fortunately enough, I think the most biggest thing it really happened was Aaron Judge to throw Tatis at third base and stuff. That could be a difference enough of what happened to Tatis, and even for Austin Wells going to third and stuff, if he could actually score or not or anything. That really does make the difference of the game and stuff. Again, I thinking the pretty much of the thing enough, if you think about in their head in a way, was if they're gonna run against off on Team USA and stuff, because pretty much everybody in the offense and infield is really good on defense. So if you run off them and stuff, you might have a chance enough to get out and stuff. So that could be just a way enough of, hey, I want to be safe. You never know and stuff. And then fortunately, it just didn't work in their way, and that's why enough of USA got on top and beat them with a very close game and stuff. I get about what happened at the end with Perdomo. It's hard to see it and stuff. I actually made a video as well just to give my thoughts and what I saw from, expective of what the umpire saw and all stuff, because, obviously what we saw is a ball and call it a strike, and that's how at the end, the game ended. It's the worst to see that way and stuff, because all sports are not fair in some ways and stuff. So, we like to see fair games, but we're not going to get it. But overall and stuff, this is the toughest two teams against each other and stuff. So you see a lot of times enough of So there are some people can get on base and some cannot and stuff, and just somehow enough both sides did really good. The crazy enough of how good DR defense and offense were pretty good. Their pitching was doing good as well. There's another thing I really want to talk about and stuff, about pitching and stuff. Why the heck they brought Tyler Rogers in? This makes no sense to me. Again, this is probably the reason why Scooble is only pitching for one game and stuff, because fortunately enough, at this point enough, USA is going to finals. How do you actually have him to pitch in the finals against Venezuela? And it just doesn't make no sense, you know. So fortunately for that, who else is on this team went to the minor leagues. Not minor leagues. Spring training games and stuff, because we don't really see a lot of Michael Wacha anymore and stuff. I didn't really see Clayton Kershaw to pitch of any time and stuff. So what's the reason for him to be there if he didn't pitch? And the only time we actually saw Clayton Kershaw to pitch was in an exhibition game against the Rockies and stuff. So some ways enough, yes, we did see him in a Team USA jersey and pitching and stuff, but it would be much cooler if we actually see him in the pool of the games and stuff. Fortunately enough, Mark DeRosa didn't do that and stuff. I don't know why. Not all pitchers actually pitch and stuff. So that's another thing. It's just so weird enough of because what I've actually heard, I heard Joe Ryan was going to come up in the game and stuff and actually pitch for being the starting pitcher in the finals and stuff. Fortunately, that didn't happen because Nolan McLean was actually the starting pitcher for the finals against Team Venezuela and stuff. But it's just so interesting to see some players going off the team and not play. And then weird enough of Tyler Rogers didn't really started all the way to the beginning of Team USA, and then fortunately came in and started pitching. It's the weirdest thing ever and stuff, So it kind of threw me off in that way. Why did they do this and stuff? It's weird to say enough of hey, let me be part of this team. Doesn't matter if I do play, but I still want to be part of the team. They did that in some ways, yes. But fortunately enough, it's just again, it just didn't make sense in my way what they were thinking to doing and stuff. Interesting fact enough for Griffin Jax and Paul Skeens. It's always really interesting enough of these two pitchers actually went to the same military school and stuff. Unfortunately enough, Griffin Jax is actually he actually graduated to the place he went for military stuff, so that's good for him, and then actually become a MLB pitcher. Just for the thing about Paul Skeens enough, he did went to the military school, but he didn't graduate, so that's why he went to LSU instead to graduate there, and then became where he's at right now. So that is that, and also it's kind of cool to see Paul Skeens and Mason Millers to start and end the game and stuff against a really good offense team like DR is and stuff. So everybody was super excited. Again, my heart was pounding every minute in a way and stuff because, again, it was exciting. It was a close game and stuff. Probably my favorite game of all of them and stuff. So that's pretty much of that. There's things didn't see of it coming and stuff, and then I love the guys played in the infield against DR and stuff. Those guys are my favorite players and stuff, so that just shows enough of why I enjoyed the infielders and stuff, and every single time they came up to play, I was excited. And then finally enough, we're talking about the last game, the final against Venezuela and stuff. And again, I thinking It's like literally the same thing. Having Will Smith playing the catcher, Brian Buxton playing center field besides PCA, and PCA and Gunnar Henderson did come in batting later on and stuff. And then the pitching wise, enough. Nolan McLean, his second time to pitch and stuff, went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, struck out 4 batters, gave up one walk, and gave up 2 runs. And then the other people pitch was Brad Keller, Will Vest. That's another pitcher. I do not really remember seeing him on the roster in the first place and stuff. And then Griffin Jacks, Garrett Whitlock, and Tyler Rogers and stuff. So that's pretty much of that. The scoring and the big plays they had and stuff. Miguel Garcia hit a RBI to make it 1-0, top of the third. Willer Abreu hitting a solo home run to make it 2-0 in the top of the fifth. And then, fortunately enough, my boy Bryce Harper hit a 2-home run, 2-2, to tie the game up in the bottom of the 8th. Hold up. There's a reason why I'm wearing this. We're having a little bit of difficulties here. So yeah, that's why I want to show you my Team USA Bryce Harper jersey. Bryce Harper jersey and stuff. I don't have the capital one thing on it, but fortunately enough, what I do have, what he did, is Team USA all the way. That's right. This is what the team it's all about. Sorry, I'm having so much difficulties. Well, I just broke my speaker, by the way, and stuff. It still works. It's just this is the biggest problem I'm having and stuff. Didn't expected that. Whatever and stuff. This was absolutely insane and stuff. This really, because again, my heart was going crazy with this game, being down 0-2 and stuff, and then Bryce Harper coming, he was really struggling with his offense and stuff, and having this big giant moment to hit a 2-home run, tied the game up, kind of getting like relief and from the chest and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty huge. The chosen one did it. That is the chosen one. I will absolutely keep saying for my boy of enough. Bryce Harper is the chosen one for baseball. There's nobody else. There's nobody. And stuff. So, and the crazy thing is like I had a prediction. One crazy again. Obviously enough of anything and stuff, and I literally saw like what was gonna happen. So what I was actually predicting in a way of how we can get back into this game and actually win the game as well. Because what happened was enough. Starting off with Bryce Terang and stuff, I want him to get a base hit. Fortunately, he got out, obviously, and stuff. And then I was going to have PCA hitting a 2-home run to tie the game up. He got out. Just what happens and stuff. And then, fortunately enough, having Bobby Wood Jr. to come up to play again and stuff. And I want him to get a base hit. Fortunately, he got walked, by the way, and stuff. So we got kind of runner on base and stuff. And then that's where Bryce Harper hit a home run. And I did say I want Bryce Harper to hit a home run and stuff to make it as 2-4 and having the lead and stuff. But fortunately, this one actually tied the game up. And then after that, the captain came up to play, Aaron Judge, and I want him to hit a back-to-back home run to literally take the lead 5-2, and stuff in the 8th inning. But fortunately enough, Aaron Judge got struck out. So some of my prediction was correct, some did not. So I was more enjoyed enough to see my boy to tie the game up. But fortunately enough, that didn't really end so well for Team USA because Eugenio Suarez hit a 1 RBI double to take the lead 3-2, top of the 9th. And then Daniel Pacia strike out Roman Anthony for the win, for Venezuela to win their very first World Baseball Classic, to beat Team USA 2-3. That was the final score and stuff. So pretty huge of that, and that's pretty much of that. Again, I was kind of disappointed in a way. I want Team USA to win and stuff, but fortunately it just didn't go the way USA wanted. Again, you gotta give props to Venezuela. This is also a really great team. Venezuela beat Japan and Italy to literally get to this point, and they won Team USA. So they really play against really tough teams, and they beat them and stuff. So again, you gotta really give a lot of tops to Venezuela and stuff. So showing enough of USA should absolutely win, but they didn't. Cannot just say enough of the better team is gonna win all the games and stuff because who they have and they're better on paper and stuff. It's all a matter of the game, That's what it is and stuff. And I would definitely say stop, putting some negativities on Team USA and stuff. These are tough teams. They're facing each other and stuff. They could absolutely lose against DR and stuff. Again, for DR to play Venezuela again in the finals, if that is the way of DR beat USA, but they didn't and stuff. Japan would actually play against USA in the finals the second time and not, but they didn't. Even Italy would have another matchup against USA in the finals, but they didn't and stuff. So these are the typical things. You cannot just say enough of any of these times, even for I don't want to say the name bad enough. Nicaragua, Nicaragua. It's a hard word to say, but they were very close to winning their very first game. It's just Netherlands actually took it away and stuff. So fortunately enough, cannot just say enough of a team can very enough of be a better team and stuff in some typical ways and stuff. So stop hating on Team USA. They did the most that they can do and stuff. It sucks for them to win, but hey, you gotta give credits for Venezuela, for other teams as well. The better teams and generally did not win. So, and then the better teams lost. USA lost, DR lost, Japan lost, and stuff. And Venezuela is the only team took the whole thing. So that's the only thing I could absolutely say. And so I would definitely say this time enough of it was tough. We would like to see other players, put the Big Dipper in the finals or whatever, have a chance, because I think Will Smith didn't do so well and stuff. I do not understand why not PCA is not starting besides of Buxton in some ways and stuff. So I would not agree and disagree a lot of what Mark DeRosa did. There are weird things. I would absolutely have Tarek Skubal start and then of Nolan McLean instead. That's just my opinion. That's the way the coach would go in the way and stuff. So that's just what it is and stuff. So, again, this was a really good tournament. 2026 was honestly a great year for World Baseball Classic, and every team showed their skills and stuff. We saw a lot of great defense and offense, great games and stuff. So, you gotta get for every team there was and stuff, especially teams when 0-4, 1-3, or 2-2 and all this stuff. Gotta really give a lot of people of a good chance of a nub, because every team played good baseball and stuff. And fortunately enough, for the better team cannot win the game, the whole thing. So, that's baseball, that's game, that's life. And it's what it is. It's what it is, and stuff. And we'll see this tournament in 2029 in 3 years. So get hyped for that. So that's pretty much it. USA, my boys Harper. It's what it is, and stuff. Hope you liked this video. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more content like this. Have a nice day. And thank you for watching. I cannot believe this, bro! Hold up, I fixed it. Yeah, I totally fixed it. I don't know why it went wrong in the first place, but I fixed it. That actually made me a little happy.